Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel and more SPQR coverage here as we're finishing up the different factions for the revised edition here and seeing what has changed and what has stayed the same. And a quick shout out at the beginning of the video too, for those who do want to support the channel a little bit more beyond just a like and a subscribe. Check out the link in the description there guys. Anything you pick up there from Warlord via that link will also come back and support the channel a little bit. And we appreciate everybody who's been doing that. Alright, let's jump in. We are at the end here. Basically we have Thebes as our last main faction, and we'll cover the Mercenaries in a separate video as well. But as far as mainline factions go, Thebes is the end here. So we still retain the mediocre archery rule as before. Nothing's changed there. The base hero has seen a 10-point discount and is pretty much in line with a lot of the other heroes in that vein there. So stat-wise, nothing has changed. And this is another one of those heroes where there is no base equipment, so you really can build what you need to build here. So that being said, the 10-point base discount is a nice starting off point, but by and large, a lot of the equipment has gotten more expensive, although some things have come down. So it does, again, just present some interesting build options here. So large shield has gone up from 5 to 8. Line of thorax has doubled from 5 to 10. The cuirass has actually come down a point. We've so far, very similar to the other Greek factions in that regard. Light armor, sorry, not light armor. Helmet is 3 points up from 2. So we do have the full range there of basically no light, medium, and heavy armors. The arrow apron has doubled from 4 to 2. And that's because arrow aprons are actually pretty decent now. So again, check out our video on equipment and armor to check how all those things have changed there. Long spear has increased to 8 points from 5. The dagger has stayed at 2. Again, pretty much no reason for you to waste points on a dagger, but it's there nonetheless. The sword has actually come down a point. Again, parry's not a mechanic anymore, so in some ways the sword has lost a step, but certainly still useful with heroes, and it's just a great all-around weapon nonetheless. The bow has also dropped a point down to 4 if you do want to build like a ranged hero. Same thing with slings though, except they have actually increased from 5 to 8. So that being said, there are some talent trees that focus on slings and all that, and it can be fun to build a hero for that, but at least on my end I tend to look for more the regular combat options first, and then usually just a bow for those ranged heroes just to maintain that mobility. But nonetheless, slings are interesting at times as well. Javelins also, if you want that close range work, those have increased from 2 to 4 a piece. And then the main thing, which has been such a blessing I think throughout most of the factions that have it available, the option to get a horse has drastically decreased. So before it was 40 points to mount your hero, now it's only 20. So without any other equipment, basically. And with the 10-point discount built in, it was 90 points before for a mounted hero. Now it's just 60, so that still gives you plenty of room to build up your equipment and really do what you need to do for the hero. So overall, very much in line with all the other factions heroes. No other special rules or anything like that, like with the Spartans. So just a good generic hero here that you can really build to do whatever you need to do. So we'll move on to the minions next. Alright guys, we get into the minions here, and the basic Theban hoplite has actually increased 3 points. Was 12 before, is up to 15 now. Stat-wise, again, the main thing is, melee dice are 1 apiece for minions now. Other than that, everything has stayed the same. Still comes with a large shield and long spear, and again, go back and check our video on equipment, weapons, and all that just to see how those have all changed, but there are definitely some differences now with some of the gear, and that will influence some of your army building choices where available. So in that sense, losing the melee dice, that's fine. It's still in line with everybody else, and basically most other, if not every other faction's baseline infantry close combat unit has increased in points, so it's not like the Theban hoplites have lost a step here. You do still have options for armor, whether you want to go light, medium, and heavy. So linothoraxes have stayed at 5. The cuirass has come down to 7 from 10 though, and helmets have bumped up a point. So you got a nice little spread there between light, medium, and heavy armor. Arrow aprons have increased from 1 to 2 apiece. So again, you can really kit these guys out with what you need for armor. And defensive purposes here. Swords were 3 points before. Those have bumped up to 4 apiece now. It's interesting that they didn't get like a free upgrade or a discount on those, where some similar factions have gotten something along those lines. So in that sense, they might miss out a little bit there. And then they still have an option for a horn, although yeah, still no option for a standard there. And they get the phalanx option. So overall, just basically your mainstay infantry unit, and very similar to the other hoplites in the game. We then move on to the Sacred Band, which has definitely seen a retooling, and was kind of a bit of a mess to field them before, just because of sort of delineating which model is which, whether it's an Aeromenos or Erastes, which they've basically just rolled into one profile now. So some things are a little bit easier with this, but in some ways it's still just kind of a bit of a mess to field these and I think get the most out of them. And before it was basically like you were getting two heroes as a two person unit essentially. Then whenever one died, the other one essentially got a special rule, basically the blood drunk special rule. So that is all retooled. Like I said, there's no more separate profiles. Like if we look at the old book here, right, we had Aeromenos and Erastes, and basically you actually got sort of a discount hero because the Erastes was a 3-wound hero essentially for 50 points, which is a base point cost of your other your generic hero, and actually included gear as well. So really you got like kind of hidden discounts there. So what has changed? So again, it's one single profile now, and they're just officially like an infantry minion unit now with this. So range has stayed the same. The melee is actually really good, so that's basically top tier along with like Spartans right there, so that's very good. Melee 3, the melee dice have come down, so certainly not fighting at hero dice quantity level there. Agility is still 1, so again the Aeromenos used to have 2 there, and the Erastes just 1, so it's just 1 there. Bravery, they've taken the better profile there from the Erastes, +3, no base armor because you can upgrade into that, and then these are just 1 wound apiece guys now. So, and I'm all for that because these guys really should be minions, not necessarily like a unit of heroes, unless Warlord were to figure out like just a better way of representing that and somehow still keeping it fair. That being said, they probably could have just given him the +2 agility that the Aeromenos had before. Agility is not that big of a thing necessarily, depending on the terrain and stuff you're playing with. So, so that would have been fine there. But now these guys have gone from 100 points for a pair of them to 42 points a pair. So certainly much easier to actually get a sizable unit. Before it was rather difficult to get a reasonable sized unit. So that being said, large shield and long spears are your base equipment still. You can go linothoraxes, although those have doubled in points now from 5 apiece to 10 apiece. And again, each of these upgrades, it's per model, not per pair. So which is detailed below there with the Sacred Vow. But yeah, linothorax, cuirass has actually come down a point. So that's always good to see. And still 14 points apiece, though, if you really want to go that route. And helmets are 4 apiece, now up from 2 apiece. They can also get the arrow aprons. Those have increased from 2 to 4 apiece. And here's one of those instances where the unit does get swords for free. And again, that's awesome. Definitely, why would you not take it? It's just one of those little gripes I've had with the way they've presented that in this edition. Like, if I'm getting the swords for free and I'm not having to swap out another weapon for it, then just list it as my base equipment. Like, why would you not just, give yourself the option to have the sword if need be? Anyway, though, other than that, things look pretty good there. Again, they're pretty much top level combat ability there with that +3 melee. And again, only 1 melee dice is fine considering everybody else has dropped to 1 melee dice as well. So again, they have not lost a step there. So properly kitted out, these guys will definitely be pretty nasty. So that being said, if you figure their base 21 points apiece here, that's pretty much in line with a lot of other factions. Sort of premier units there. Let's see if their special rules, though, really match up. Now, they have gained Phalanx as an ability, so that's certainly a great buff there, just to have that available to them. Sacred Vow, let's see how that has changed. So basically, yep, you buy them in pairs, and upgrades are purchased for models individually. So let's see here. Must be always bought as a pair. Again, they still basically mention, one's Aromenos, one's in Erastes, but no longer separate profiles. And yep, so the cost there, 42 per pair, and yep, paid for individually. Yep, great. So nothing has changed there under Sacred Vow. Passionate Bond, though, this is where I think they've tried to fix it, and I don't know if let's double check and see if they've kind of succeeded here. So before, the old rule was if one member is removed as a casualty, so basically you're going to kind of have to like label all your models too to figure out which one's which. Let's see here. Is moved as line of casualty within line of sight of the other? Well, chances are they're probably going to be within line of sight of the other now, certainly if you want to phalanx up. But anyway, then the survivor would become blood drunk, and let's see if that has changed. I think they've made a solid effort to fix it. So let's see here. For every Sacred Band model removed as a casualty, one other Sacred Band model will increase their melee dice by 1 to a maximum of 2 dice for the remainder of the battle. Oh, that's pretty neat. That definitely does make them scary. In a campaign, after every battle, one surviving model will leave the unit, counted as a casualty, for each other removed from that unit during the game. So that can be a little bit rough there because it's not even a roll. It's just the other model straight up leaving, so you're going to have to spend points to get that back in a campaign. So I think overall they've actually succeeded there. Definitely delineating a campaign purpose and a in-game purpose for one-off games is a great thing. And I think that's something, again, where they kind of still missed or dropped the ball a little bit with the Immortals for the Persians, which, again, they just needed something else, I think, in-game to make them a little bit more the scary unit that they are, and I think really Fearsome Reputation probably could have been there. And that being said, Fearsome Reputation could have been something to add to these guys as well, since it's one of the few, the Thebans were, one of the few that actually kind of handed Sparta their lunch at one point. But I think that might have pushed them over the top, or certainly the points cost would have had to drastically bump up again per model. Because then I can imagine you could pull shenanigans where you'd try and get a chunk of the unit killed, get them up to 2 melee dice, and then still have like Fearsome Reputation on top of all that. But this I think will work out nicely. I think the 42 point cost there really, you could, I guess, do different things where, you kit out half of your unit with actual armor and gear, and then the other half you maybe don't upgrade, just so that they can get killed. So then your remaining models will power up then. So that I think is probably something people are going to try and pull a little bit. But overall, I think just a good improvement, and I think somewhat cleaned up from before, because again, before having to delineate which model is which, and then keeping track of who died and all that stuff, that was just unnecessarily complex there. And here again, just transforming them actually into like an elite infantry unit as opposed to like these pseudo 2-man hero units that in the right circumstances could do a little bit of work, but really the mechanics of the game just weren't in favor of that necessarily. I think that does give the Thebans a good sort of 1-2 punch with their hoplites as sort of the cheaper basic unit that can do a lot of the grunt work, and then let these guys come in and really do more of the killing. That being said, Warlord did make a couple years ago just really like fantastic models for these guys kind of pictured there. At some point hopefully these will get the like the Warlord resin treatment or something like that, or even like an actual plastic kit, because they certainly look fantastic. So definitely I think you're going to see a lot more of these for you Theban players out there. So this is definitely great. But let us know in the comments where you were at with Sacred Man before in your lists, and what value you got out of them as the sort of 2-man hero units. And maybe your experience differed from ours here in our local meta, but before it was just kind of a mess. This, I think, will work fine by and large, and the fact that you, in the right circumstances, can then have a unit with +3 melee and by and large 2 melee dice apiece with the ability to phalanx, assuming you have enough models left and all that, would be pretty formidable. So, and reasonably costed still. So let us know there, guys, and then we're going to turn to our lighter missile troops next. All right, guys, getting into the Peltus and the Siloi for the Thebans here. So the base cost has gone up from 8 to 10. Again, seen that quite a bit with a lot of the factions here. Their melee dice have stayed the same. So yeah, they do have base melee, or sorry, range +2. So that's still fantastic and definitely going to be, or should be, a part of your list. Still come with a javelin and a small shield. So really, I think the main trick here with these guys is, if you're going to take them, they're not really going to do too much in combat for you. You can certainly buy the sword and helmet if you want and get some armor, but I think it's all about delivering as many javelins as possible here. So really, you got to max out on those. So 2 points a piece, that has stayed the same. The helmet has increased a point, but the sword has come down a point, so it's a wash basically. I feel like you're by and large going to take both. Although, I guess a sword, if nothing else, in a pinch, just to not have a javelin for close combat purposes, or basically fists once your javelins are gone. But if these guys have done their job, you've probably inflicted a decent amount of casualties on the enemy. They do still have the horn option and the ability to have hit and run as well. So hit and run is a neat little trick and good to have there. And then just the 2-point base increase is pretty much in line with a lot of the other factions, kind of skirmisher type guys. So they haven't lost a step. They're still fantastic. Good thing for the Thebans here. And then finally, the other unit that they have are the Siloi. They have gone up a point. Makes it nice and easy to do the math on them now. 5 apiece. Stat-wise, everything has remained the same there. These guys come with dagger and stones, which you're going to definitely want to switch into something else to really be useful. So that being said, they can replace bows or stones with bows for 2 points apiece. That stayed the same, and that does give you another sort of long range ranged unit to complement what the Peltists are doing. Just that they're not nearly as skilled. So you're going to likely want to get a little bit closer. You can still go with slings, although those have gotten a 1-point discount. But again, if you're throwing at long range and there's no other cover, you're still basically hoping for 6s. But you can build up decently sized units for not too much in the way of points. And then these guys do have another trick where you can kind of go with sort of like a pseudo combat unit for these guys, and arguably they can do that a little bit better or cheaper overall than what the Peltists would do, because again, the Peltists should be focused on delivering the javelins. But you can go with swords for 4 points. That's gone up a point. They can have access to animal skins for 3, and then bucklers for 1. So you can kind of round that off if you want, and basically 9 points for the whole combat package, or 8 points for the whole combat package there. So basically 13 for the whole model then, if you're doing nothing but that, and that could be an interesting thing to throw off the enemy or opponent as well. But if you just opt in for the bow, just to have sort of a full range of things that you can do there, then you're looking at 15, which is still very reasonable considering all the gear that you're basically toting around there. And they do also come with hit and run. It is interesting to note that now you have animal skins and bucklers as options, whereas before it was either the animal skins or bucklers for 2 apiece. So now, again, they get just a little bit of a better combat package there. So overall, really good stuff for the Thebans. Not the most lengthy or detailed list, but they're in some ways, you can, I don't know, probably get massacred in the comments for this, but like it's almost like Spartan light in that sense. They have a couple of great combat units, and then backed up with actual ranged ability, whereas the Spartans obviously are kind of like one-dimensional in that sense, but they do that extremely well. So Sacred Band with some regular hoplites here, backed up by good quantities of Siloi and Peltas, will make a nice well-rounded list. Your heroes can certainly add skills and abilities in all those areas and kind of keep the force together. You do have the option to mount your hero, but again, there's no native cavalry in this list. So in that sense, you're going to have to look to mercenaries or other things if you do want some potential cavalry, just to give yourself that dimension. But Thebans overall, just a fun faction that also just on the model side certainly could use some more releases, but we'll see if Warlord gets around to that. Mercenaries, again, you have Athens, Macedonia, Thebes, and Sparta, and then you do still have access to Cretan archers, mercenary hoplites, Thessalian cavalry, and Thessalian cavalry and Thracian peltasts. However, you have lost the Thracian warrior, so we'll have to see if he's even still in the book. But that is gone from the previous list. So that wraps everything up there. We'll take a look at the heroes next and wrap up the Thebans. Alrighty, guys, getting into the Heroes of Legends here for the Thebans, and we start with Pagondas. He was 150 before, which is still, more than reasonably costed for everything that he did for you. That being said, he's gotten a good discount, but again, it's another one of these quirky points adjustments that we've seen with not just units, but mainly the Heroes of Legend. I'm just not sure, like, what the thought process is here, with whoever was working on this. So he's 101 points now, which is just kind of like a pain in the ass number. Just make him 100, or if you feel he's more than 105, like, well, 101 is just really, I don't know, just irritates me. But that being said, let's see, if he's still got what it takes here. So he's +2 range, +3 melee, 3 dice, agility's great. Bravery, armor, and wounds have all stayed the same. He's a level 5 hero, so he's right in the middle there, but he definitely has feels more like a little bit higher level hero. Just he's got a good range of stats, no real weaknesses here. I mean, his worst stat is a +2, right, which is great. Talents: about face, as one, fight in the shadows, inspire, pushback, and voice of command. So that's all stayed the same. And he has a decent amount of kit: large shield, line of thorax, long spear, and sword. So he's basically, your hoplite package there. Tactical mind. Let's see how that's changed, if it's changed. So at the start of any battle, after all units on both sides have been deployed, roll a d3. That's how many friendly units can be moved up to 12 inches in any direction, so long as they remain in your deployment zone. So, hey, that stayed the same. And then reserve force. One of the units that he repositions after deployment may be taken off the table altogether to form a reserve force, which could include him. If he succeeds in making a bravery check at the start of any Theban phase, that unit may immediately be moved onto the battlefield from any table edge in the Theban deployment zone, performing 2 actions as normal. So basically the same. So great to see, like, a hero that didn't really need adjusting before. It was pretty fair rules overall. Just let's do some movement shenanigans before and during the game, and it's just a decent hero in and of his own right. That being said, he's not that much of a close combat beast or anything like that. So you definitely want to keep him away from other higher level heroes who are definitely more geared towards like challenges and stuff like that. He's got a great range of stats, but only the +2 armor there and 4 wounds honestly will not last that long against someone who's very much geared towards killing other heroes. But overall, well worth taking now, especially with the discount. It'd be nice to see him just at like 100 points even. 101 is kind of ridiculous. I'm not sure what the 1 point is really representing there, but nonetheless, good character, but also could certainly use an actual model from Warlord at some point. Hint, hint. Then we get Pulpitus. He has also seen a great discount, and hey, a nice even number there, down from 175 to 120. He's a level 6 hero, +3 melee, 4 dice, 4 agility, and 4 bravery. So this guy's just a beast. 2 of the armor and 6 wounds. So he's got about face, battlefield control, dirty fighting, loyal bodyguard, mighty blow, motivation, and voice of command. And then again, also the hoplite package there for equipment. So all the same. Let's see his special role here. So he has a sharp eye for powerful and effective enemies. It makes it his business to hunt them down. A challenge issued by him can't be refused. Furthermore, if there is more than one enemy hero present in the combat, he can choose which one must accept the challenge. So, nope, still the same as before. So he is really, geared towards killing other characters, as we can kind of gather from the ability and just some of his talents and stuff like that. That being said, would have been nice to see something like, like Lethal Blade or something else, just to make him a little bit deadlier in that regard. So he's going to try and rely on some of his tricks here that the talents have, although, again, they're kind of gimmicky. So in some situations, you might just want to focus on keeping him around for his stats and just being able to like buff and control the army too. So don't forget about that. About face and battlefield control, and motivation, voice of command. Those are all still relevant abilities. Dirty fighting and mighty blow. Those are neat, but and loyal bodyguard's another great thing. But on the other hand, he's definitely in that sense like a little bit below some of the other scarier special characters, or characters that you might just, you know, build like generic ones that you'll encounter. So, you know, things that really like put like negatives to a hero's armor and other things like that, or negating shield use and stuff like that. Those are the really scary things, I think, for, you know, when you're in a challenge and you're stuck with somebody. Here, he's not so much geared towards that. He's going to try and like knock you down and then like wail on you, stuff like that. But in and of himself, he, you know, he hasn't like really, I guess, in that sense, like pursued making his sword fighting skills or anything like that scarier. So with the talents that he has, but nonetheless, still well worth taking, especially with the discount now. So for 120 points, he can definitely do some work and hunt down a lot of lower level heroes. Just mind those that are really close combat badasses that can probably outfight him. So overall, Thebans, really great faction. Just some minor tweaks here and there. Sacred Band, I think, has definitely gained a necessary amount of clarity and ease of use, and as I wouldn't put him, you know, at the very top, but certainly still really interesting, and just it'll be interesting there too to see, I guess, you know, what the right amount of sort of play is to get a certain amount of them killed to then really buff up the rest of your unit. So there's probably some interesting number crunching there, and maybe some shenanigans you can pull as far as like what upgrades to take. So you do want some of them to die, ironically enough, so that you can get the 2 melee dice bonus for the remaining models, and then really go to town there and get stuck in with enemy units. So let us know in the comments, guys, what you think, what your experience has been with the Thebans, what are you looking forward to with these changes, and for those who've played against the Thebans, you know, do any of these changes worry you? Were you having an easy time dealing with Thebans before, or you know, if you were struggling a little bit, does this look like it's going to be a little bit tougher for you? And honestly, again, I would expect to see both these heroes used a lot more now with the discounts and no downsides to them. So that concludes our series here, wrapping up the main factions, guys. Be on the lookout for a mercenary video and talents review. Those will be coming out shortly as well. And then now that the game is essentially out, and hopefully by the time you're watching this as well, you know, happy gaming, and we'll look forward to bringing you guys some battle reports and other stuff soon. So take care.